New developments coming fast and furious about, in particular, Donald Trump Jr.'s meeting with a Russian attorney during the campaign. Trump just released emails about the meeting. We will speak with a former federal prosecutor and ask him just how damaging this whole thing could be. Then, will this Russia mess derail the president's agenda on health care and taxes? I'll give you a hint. So far, you betcha. Panel is here to discuss that and debate. And Chris Christie's approval rating continues to go down, if it could even go down further. His temper, though, it is flaring up. That is he insults constituents and an entire town in New Jersey while he's at it, all while he's hosting a sports radio talk show.
Next time you want to sit on a beach that is closed to the entire world except you, you put your fat in a car and go to one that's open.
You know, Mike, I love getting calls from communists in Montclair.
Communists in Montclair.
Good evening and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French. Well, the Russia story gets more interesting by the day. Now, of course, Donald Trump Jr. is the focus of the moment, and his story, well, it just keeps changing. Now, on Saturday, you may remember, after the New York Times broke the story about his meeting with a Kremlin-connected lawyer, Trump Jr. said the meeting was about adoptions, not his father's campaign, or for that matter, Hillary Clinton. Well, a day later, after the Times reported that he met with the Russians to get dirt on Clinton, Don Jr. released a statement admitting the meeting was about Clinton, but then he said it was short on substance. Then on Monday, the Times reported about the existence of emails about said meeting. Trump Jr. responded by saying he's happy to cooperate with congressional investigators. Well, today, he released the actual emails in question. He said he wanted to be fully transparent. But 2 hours before releasing the emails, he sent this defiant tweet, quote, "Media and Dems are extremely invested in the Russia story. If this nonsense meeting is all they have after a year, I understand the desperation." The emails in question are between Trump Jr. and a guy named Rob Goldstone. Goldstone, he helped set up the meeting. He also runs a marketing company and was a British tabloid reporter. Goldstone also helped get Donald Trump Miss Universe's pageant into Moscow. Now, here are some of the emails. Now, we're going to start with Goldstone to Trump. This dated June 3rd of last year, where he talks about setting up a meeting with a Russian government attorney. Quote, "The Crown Prosecutor of Russia offered to provide the Trump campaign with some official documents and information that would incriminate Hillary and her dealings with Russia and would be very useful to your father. This is obviously very high level and sensitive information, but it's part of Russia's and the government's support for Mr. Trump," end quote. Here's what Don Jr. said in response. Quote, "Thanks, Rob. I appreciate that. I'm on the road at the moment. Seems that we have some time, and if it's what you say, I love it, especially later in the summer." Goldstone also emailed this to Trump Jr. Quote, "I can also send this info to your father, but it is ultra sensitive, so wanted to send it to you first." Well, for more on this, we are joined by former federal prosecutor Roland Riopel. And Roland, first of all, you can't make this stuff up, but it's almost like a fire hose of information, and I think sometimes that's the problem. So much comes at you, we lose the forest from the trees here. What jumped at you most, more than the changing stories and narratives? It seemed by the third iteration here, we're confirming that Trump knew full well that he was getting from Russian operatives connected to the Kremlin information that would incriminate Hillary, and he was all too willing to get his hands on it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. This is the first direct evidence that we have of collusion between the Trump campaign and foreign agents, specifically Russian foreign agents. There's been a lot of speculation that there was collusion before, but here we have it right in front of us with Mr. Goldstone reporting what he's heard from the Kremlin and Mr. Trump Jr. lapping it up.
And I want to get to a couple of the ways where there could be criminality involved. But before I do, the timing of this, at least one thing we've seen for the last year, both from the campaign and certainly in the first few months of this administration, is deny, deny, deny. This time it seemed that the Trump family was coming forward with information. Obviously, they knew the Times had their hands in some information, but you don't have to be a cynic to say, what's going on here? Why all of a sudden are they being cooperative here? What's your sense?
My sense is that they knew that the Times had the emails in question and was going to release them. And so I think the judgment was that as damaging as these emails are, it is better to beat the Times to the punch and release them ourselves, give them a little of our own spin. And indeed, you know, they have many surrogates out there who are trying to explain away the damaging nature of these emails on all of the chat shows. I think they wanted to play offense rather than defense.
You can argue how well they did that, seeing it took 3 tries to finally get the story out. But to that point, let me ask about, in the eyes of the law, because there's a couple different theories as to where this could have gone from idiocy to criminality. You mentioned collusion. Explain collusion, what the standard is, and also not just if someone offers to give you something, but what either you have to do in receiving it, let alone using it, for it to become a crime.
Well, the campaign finance law, and you know, I do want to say that this is not something that is often prosecuted, but the campaign finance law expressly prohibits a campaign from soliciting or receiving and accepting anything of value from a foreign person. And that kind of collusive conduct where a foreign actor is participating in a campaign by providing it something of value, that is expressly punished by the statute. And the only argument now is going to be over whether the information that was offered was itself something of value. Can that qualify under the statute?
And again, put on your former federal prosecutor hat here, because this is not without precedent. I remember, forgetting even the foreign nationals, during the Bush-Gore campaign, Al Gore, his campaign at the time, had gotten advanced preparations on the part of the Bush campaign for the debates and where they were going to go with some of their answers theoretically. They turned that over directly to the FBI for not just altruistic reasons, but for legal exposure as well. Forget that Donnie Jr. shouldn't have wanted to take the meeting here, let alone with the campaign manager at the time, Paul Manafort, and also the son-in-law, Jared Kushner. But he certainly should have then turned over the information if what he said, that he was shocked that there was gambling in River City, once they told him what they said in the emails they were going to give him, whether it was material or not, he should have gone to the feds with it. The fact that he didn't, and the fact is, you also mentioned before, that he was told beforehand that these kind of things were improper. It adds up to a problem.
There actually, I think it does. You know, one of the things that really hasn't come out in the news yet is that in June of 2016, the Trump campaign was taking a lot of hits on the issue of their solicitation of actual money contributions from overseas persons. There was actually a complaint filed with the Federal Election Commission on June 29th by whistleblowers on that issue. And the Trump campaign had to know that it was improper to solicit anything from a foreign person. And so this is really very troubling. I think what it demonstrates is that this is a group of people, Don Jr. being one of them, that just feel they are above the law and can do whatever they want without consequence.
I have a question as to now, with the admission and the release of the emails that we just mentioned, Roland, we have obviously an active investigation, multiple ones. Is there enough threshold to say we want to secure the servers and the emails from both Donald Trump Jr., the campaign at the time, the Trump Organization? Doesn't this become material evidence?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I am sure that Mr. Mueller will serve subpoenas for all this material if he hasn't done it already. I wouldn't be surprised if he has done it already. I would think one of the first subpoenas he would be serving would be for all the emails on the server at the Trump campaign. And here are some that are just very worrisome. Another thing I'll say that seems to be happening with the story coming out the way it did is it seems to me that Mr. Goldstone must be cooperating with the Times at least, and he may be cooperating with Mr. Mueller. It seems to me that this information could only come out through him, and so he must be the one ultimately providing it.
Or somebody within this administration or the campaign at the time that may have been privy to this. It calls to mind to me the famous line from All the President's Men, "Follow the money." And whether that was ever said by Felt or not at the time, to me, Roland, my God, this is a newspaper that's doing this. Imagine with full subpoena powers and so many players involved with so many agendas, so many people looking to protect their own particular backsides. If you're Mueller right now, it's almost like there's too big of a buffet to pick where to go first, I would think.
Exactly. You can't tell where the low-hanging fruit is because it's all hanging so low. He may have to hire another 18 people to help him before this is over.
As they say, stay tuned. Roland, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Great to talk to you with you, Richard.
And up next, everyone, we're going to bring our panel in. Top Republicans, as we speak, now becoming critical of the campaign's dealings with the Russians. Will that impact the president's push for, among other things, health care, tax cuts, budget issues? The panel joins me for that.